and why the politics and the morality are just so messed up and balled up in this ball of yarn up here on Capitol Hill. This hearing just only further exemplifies that. Chris?
Yeah, and how difficult it will be to come to some sort of understanding. So,
Yeah.
John, these officials claim the ICE and CPB agents are well trained, that they understand and respect people's constitutional rights, that they do not separate families. Those were some of their statements. Do the facts on the ground support those contentions?
Well, Chris, I mean, I think it's hard to say that those are fully accurate based on everything we've seen at this point. Look, at the end of the day, these agents are extensively trained. That part is true. The problem is they're just not trained to deal with these circumstances that they're encountering in Minneapolis. And as I've said before, what is really concerning to me and certainly lots of other former DHS officials I speak with is this idea of moving Border Patrol agents up off the border and putting them in an urban environment, which is just a radically different operating environment than they're used to. And then you have them task them with actually trying to police these protesters. Again, something that they aren't trained to do, and they don't encounter when they're out there operating in the Southwest desert. We've all seen the results, right? These incredibly aggressive confrontations. Federal courts have expressed concerns that they're violating their First Amendment rights, Fourth Amendment rights. But all of that is a byproduct of what was very predictable, which is that moving 1,000 Border Patrol agents and tasking with these functions is going to result in the scenes like we saw in Minneapolis.
Mark, I want to play the officials defending the actions of their agents and rejecting comparisons to authoritarian regimes.
Agents are increasingly facing an unprecedented level of aggressive interference and intimidation when executing the laws that you have asked them to enforce. These attacks on federal law enforcement personnel are coordinated and well-funded. This is not peaceful protest. No law enforcement officer should be put at personal risk simply for doing the job that we have asked them to do.
Let me send a message to anyone who thinks they can intimidate us. You will fail. Despite these perils, our officers continue to execute their mission with unwavering resolve, and we are only getting started.
And yet polls show more than 60% of Americans believe ICE has gone too far. So how do you think people are going to receive the idea that ICE agents are the ones under siege here?
Well, I mean, it's not backed up by the reality that everyone's experiencing on video. I mean, this is not theoretical. This is not something that is just a product of a speech you hear in a congressional hearing. This is something that is being brought home on a fairly regular basis, daily in some ways, from the streets of Minneapolis, from the front lines of this. And that is not a good look for anyone, particularly the agents involved here. It does not look like a well-trained and organized environment. It looks very chaotic. And I will say also, I mean, I think a hearing like this kind of, in some kind of dispiriting way, reflects that chaos within the halls of Congress. I mean, I do, I've been watching these things for a long, long time, many, many years. And I still don't really understand what the speechifying does when you sort of spend so much time trying to get people under oath to answer questions, and then you don't really get too much of a pointed exchange. We saw some exceptions earlier, especially from Congressman Goldman, maybe Swalwell, and a couple of others. But ultimately, I mean, I think this reads as a little bit more performative than it needs to be. And I do sort of wonder if Democrats might tempt a little bit, not backlash, that's probably too strong a word, but I do think you wonder what the value of this is after a while, and if people might not just tune this out.
Well, I think to your point, those polls do show that the American people are looking for answers. So, Veronica, the Oklahoma Congressman Braheen argued, and this has kind of been a consistent argument from the administration, look, we're doing what Donald Trump was elected to do, which is to get dangerous criminals off the streets. They put up photos often of people. I don't know if they are people who have been convicted or accused of crimes, but they put the crimes underneath. Do they have a point?
I think when it comes to safety as a public right now, we have to ask, are we safer now than we were 2 years ago? We've seen Americans being shot in broad daylight. There's no investigations. We've seen the deaths in detention centers rise. One person, Seamus, an Irish man, told The Guardian that he felt like the prison guards are the people that he was scared of. And so people are scared to go out to eat, people of color, people with accents, people in mixed status families. That's one point. The other point is that this administration is making it an either or issue. We can have safe borders, or Americans can be safe and we can preserve the constitutional rights. They are making this an either-or issue. It should not be an either-or issue. It never was. It was, we can have safe borders and we can protect Americans and preserve our constitutional rights and the courts as they stand. And so when they're showing those pictures, that is nothing new. Every administration has always gone for the worst of the worst. They've gone for people who have gone through the criminal system or have been arrested and accused of horrific crimes, and then they go into the immigration system and they are deported. That is the process. What they're doing now is just for show. If they were really interested in getting the worst of the worst, they would invest that time into technology, getting fingerprints from other countries, facial recognition from other countries, so that when people present themselves at the border, there's more ability to say what their history has been.
So, John, do you think there are questions that need to be answers that, at least from what you've heard, lawmakers haven't asked?
Chris, absolutely. I want to see data from Minneapolis. I think this is critically important. We need to know who was being arrested. The public has a right to decide, was it worth it? Right? And that data needs to break down not just the individuals, like you said, you see these worst of the worst. I want to know where those individuals were arrested. Were those individuals arrested, handed over from the Minnesota prison system? Were they arrested in jails? Were they at-large arrests? But I want to see the macro level data. I just know, based on experience, working at DHS and ICE for 5 years, that when you look at these operations, they are not likely to yield a high level of criminal aliens. Two would be that we see these cases, whether it's Liam Ramos's case or we see the court order regarding 100 refugees that were inexplicably arrested, even though they had legal status. But, Chris, if there's one thing I think Congress should mandate, it is timely and accurate data from ICE regarding who's being arrested, where they're being arrested, and what their criminal history is, including whether they've been charged or convicted or what offense. Only then can the public judge whether these scenes are worth it and whether it is, as the administration has said, necessary in order to protect public safety, or is this more about grabbing asylum seekers and padding stats?
Such an important point. Ali Vitale, John Sandweg, Mark Leibovich, thank you all. Veronica, you're going to stay with me.